Prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Hey, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon here from the home studio. Got a little bit of a delay on this here between me and the TV station down there downtown. So still kind of learning the best way to do this, but I think we have this mostly set up here. So things are going all right. Hi, Jamie, John, and all those folks that are already starting to tune in here. Just want to do a quick kind of midday update on how things are kind of developing today. As again, I think it's said over and over again, there's no rule book on how we're going to do this. We're just going to try some things and figure out kind of what makes the most sense for everybody at home. So kind of a warm afternoon, not excessively hot at this point, as you can see behind me here. Temperatures already there in the mid 80s. The heat index obviously more noticeable, showing up there in the mid 90s at this time already. Tupelo back toward around Prentiss County out there toward Louisville, still at 90 degrees. We're at kind of the beginning of some rain chances that are likely to develop over the next couple of hours here. Did have a pretty nice start to the day, low 70s out there for those low temperatures, so not a lot of folks complaining about that at this time. Change in temperatures the last 24 hours, actually a little bit cooler than yesterday. That was anticipated that we weren't going to be quite as warm this afternoon. Looking at the latest here, I think probably the first and best place to start here from was actually with the visible satellite picture. It gives us kind of an idea of things are starting to kind of pop up. And we do expect to have more thunderstorms starting to pop up in the next little bit here. You can already kind of see just kind of some signs of that. We're going to put this into motion here over the last hour or so as we have, generally speaking, these kind of cumulus clouds. They're starting to get a little brighter white, right, as we're kind of engaging the heating. So we do expect some additional thunderstorms, not some additional thunderstorms, kind of initial thunderstorms developing from Corinth back out here toward Oxford, stretching back toward Cleveland and into southern Arkansas. Those thunderstorms, again, I think heavy rainfall, lightning, certainly a possibility. Maybe some damaging wind gusts, not impossible. But when we look at the severe weather threat for today, it's not particularly high. Here's our risk for our area and for our region. As you can see, there's really not much out there. So again, we're not even talking about that level 1 limited, or sometimes we call it marginal risk for severe weather for our area. So not expecting these storms to be kind of on that level. I think heavy rainfall is certainly possible with them as one of the bigger risks. Tomorrow's risk, you can see limited for Thursday, limited for Friday, and obviously beyond that as well. So the rainfall remains kind of a big headline if we're going to see something out of this here. And that's just such a big issue because over the last 7 days, we've had a lot of rain. Obviously, where they had that extreme flooding in Texas, you can tell that the situation much more significant as far as rainfall was concerned for locations back that direction there. So you can see in that Texas Hill Country more than 20 inches of rain, some spots. I've seen a lot of stuff here, and I'm not going to take this time to really get into it. This is not cloud seeding. I've had a lot of folks that I know that I trust that have been like, clouds. This is not cloud seeding. This is just a stuck storm system. When storm systems get stuck, massive amounts of rainfall happens. It's actually related to climate change as things move more slowly in the pattern. They typically move more slowly this time of year, but there's an extensive history of major flash flooding issues in this portion, what they call the hill country of Texas. Not a cloud seeding issue. It's just not it. It was just a stuck storm system, a lot of moisture, and a time of year in a vulnerable area. All those things add up. So there's just so much misinformation out there. That was not the purpose of this discussion. I just happened to see that on there, wanted to reference. If somebody is telling you it's cloud seeding, it's not. That's not what it was. Cloud seeding is not that effective. I can tell you that for sure because I lived in Kansas, and when I was growing up in Kansas, they would do some. Let me clear off all those locations. They would do some cloud seeding. This is back kind of a long time ago. They would have these showers coming out of Colorado. They'd seed the clouds, and you'd be able to get a little bit of moisture out of it. But it's just too expensive to really have any kind of impact. And when you start talking about massive rainfall, it's just ineffective. We're talking tenths of an inch, not tens of inches, if that makes sense. Okay. That was not the tangent I meant to go on, but apparently the tangent I was on, so I apologize for that. Let's bring it back here. This has kind of been the story for us, though, over the last 7 days. A lot of heavy rainfall, some spots, estimations, as you can see there, more than 3 to 5 inches, but also some locations where I can, click on the map here and get practically nothing, like in northern Itawamba County there. So, I mean, we've had a lot of rainfall, I'll kind of go into a higher resolution version. Let me double check this, see if that's as high as I can go. That is there. And over the last 24 hours, the rainfall in some spots, 1 inch to 2 inches in a few locations. So again, the rainfall is the story with kind of where we're going from here the next couple of days. Let me get my mouse in the right spot. Because we look at some of those future rainfall amounts, these are almost always underdone. So I want to clarify that. But as you can see for today, tomorrow, the next day, the rainfall totals, I think, more significant than extended forecast. Really, next 5 days on a fairly widespread scale, rainfall amounts, 1 inch to 2 inches, possible out there. But I think in a very isolated fashion. Again, going back to, what does the rainfall look like over the last 24 hours? And you can see how in a very isolated fashion, it's actually 3 inches of rainfall, like we show there, Kosciuszko or Macon, or locations out toward Boonville and Corinth. So the takeaway being that in general, for the most part, these are going to be very, very isolated, heavier amounts. So when I show you, again, those rainfall totals, I'll go back to that here for a second. Some of those rainfall totals that are up there over the next, few days, and pull that up here, 1 to 5 days. Over the next 5 days, and it shows 1 inch. The reality is on a broader scale, maybe that's the case. But we expect there'll be isolated amounts, 2-3 inches or more, and they might be different than here. This just is the takeaway, should be spotty, heavy rainfall, and that is the main factor. So as we look at Mississippi Live weather radar, again, not much out there. We do have a few isolated showers right now. I'm going to clear this off and kind of look at some of those. It really has been within the last, 10-15 minutes, we started to see some of those starting to show up here out toward New Albany, back toward Ripley. Of course, we had some of those heavier storms out there last night. We did, I believe, have, over the last 24 hours, we've had a couple reports of some wind damage. There's that one we're talking about out there toward locations in Clay County. That's been it for our area that we had reports. If you have something else to report, the easiest way, man, I got a lot of emails and stuff coming in right now. If you have pictures, that's probably the easiest way, and I might look at some of those pictures here in a minute. I got to really think through. There have been easier ways. At one point, my email was much more usable at the old station. Right now, it's just overwhelmed. So honestly, maybe that Facebook chat that I'm looking at here would be kind of a good way to kind of check out on here. So definitely not. I see some people still talking about the cloud seeding thing. Definitely not cloud seeding on the issues related to all that flooding there. I'm looking back through some of your chats here. Forgive me just a second, double check what's kind of going on. Appreciate everyone there for Pod Talk, Smithville, Corinth, Holcomb, Dumas, Iuka that I see in here. Someone mentioned again, Elliott and Duck Hill. Just horrifying, some of the stories coming out of Texas there. My wife actually spent a summer there at a ranch in the hill country of Texas. It's hard to imagine if she had been. I think the exact ranch she was at's okay, but to imagine if she had been there, doing that, that's a scary thought. Going back, let's look here again. Now that we've kind of got an idea on some things, some heavier rainfall moving into and through the New Albany area at this point. Let's look at our camera there along I-22. This would be Blue Springs, kind of looking back toward it. And again, similar when we look in these clouds and these showers and these looks last night. Definitely dark clouds, low-hanging stuff. We're not going to be talking about tornadoes in any stretch of the imagination with what we have today. It's just going to be heavy rainfall, some lightning, maybe if everything can collapse in the right spot, a couple stronger wind gusts. That's probably more the exception of the rule than the rule. Hey to y'all in Grenada, Saltillo, Pinedale, Belmont, Ellistown. We appreciate you guys for your support here, Houston. Alpine Ski Resort. Now that's where I want to be. And full disclosure here for a moment. Next week, my wife and I are traveling on a pre-scheduled, is that the right word for it, trip up to Canada that you could have booked to travel with the LaPonts back in the day. At that point, Gabe will be handling a lot of what we're doing here. And hopefully by that point, we had a big Prime Day yesterday and a lot of stuff shipped. But hopefully by that point, we'll be able to go ahead and introduce our new morning meteorologist that we'll be adding. I think you'll love her. I know we're kind of still keeping that under wraps because I want to make sure we've got that up and ready before we do that. Anyway, looking forward to that announcement coming up here eventually. Let's look at a couple of the cameras. Pod Talk, hopefully we got a shot. Maybe we can see a little bit on that there. I might have to swing the camera around somewhat. So we're looking north there. Yeah, look at towards some of those showers then in the Pontotoc area as of this time. 86 degrees in Pontotoc. I'll be honest, most of these temperatures here, I'm going to stop that. I had my thing set up to try to mute my 10 bagajillion alerts that have a tendency to come through. So let me try to mute that there. Oh, look at that bird soaring. Anyway, out of Pontotoc, things looking pretty good for the most part at this time as well. Same thing when we go down closer to, say, Mabon. I believe the Mabon camera actually might, yeah, it's back up. It was down for a little bit there. You know, more of these puffy cumulus clouds, and actually that's Adyton there that I'm looking at. Apologize for that. I wonder if I have, hold on, I might have Adyton on there as both of these. I'm going to, give me a moment to write that down. I got to fix that, I think. Let me get that on the right list. Again, there's got a lot of lists as we're working through some stuff here. So I need to fix Adyton / Mabon. And I need to fix, what was the other one? I think Oxford. Okay, we'll fix that when we're done here. Again, a lot of things when you're a small business. A lot of small business owners know there's a lot of irons in the fire. Got all the graphics you see here. A large chunk of what you see, you know, I made. I did have a little help from a few folks, but most of this I made, so it's on me to fix. So 88 right now there in the Adyton area, showing those puffy clouds as things are trying to get a little more organized and start popping up there. So clear that off. Bring the cameras down here for a moment. So you know, these are again. When I check the threats, that's one of those cool things we're able to pull up on here, like the potential threats. Yeah, it says it's not impossible. Maybe have a little bit of hail on that part there that's near New Albany, but not impressed by what we're looking at there. And honestly, in general, that's kind of the story. It's just still really fairly small pop-up stuff. So I'm not going to keep this going super long here. I just kind of wanted to give kind of a midday update on kind of how things are looking at this time. Bring it back to the rainfall mode. We'll kind of go city by city on a few of these for a moment. Again, some storms up here closer to Corinth, but again, that near the Gift community in Corinth, all the way on the downswing to a certain extent. Get a storm track on that. Again, not moving particularly fast. I mean, that one, again, the way they're kind of developing, let's say 15, 16 miles per hour. That shows Corinth about 1251 with kind of the heavier portion of that there. Sliding south, we'll take the one near Ripley, that moving kind of more towards Silver Springs and Collins Crossroads there. You will notice I do have a few different locations than what we had at the previous places. We're still kind of working through getting everything on there. And I'm going to force this. Give me a second. So I can control kind of how large the population centers are that are going in here, and I have not figured out the size that I like the best, because sometimes it puts on just too many locations and sometimes doesn't put on enough there. So you can see close to Silver Springs there, Collinstown, we're about 104, 105 there, Collins Crossings, and Hightown by about 115. If that kind of continues at that speed we're looking at there. Sliding southward here toward the North Haven, New Albany area. I'll put a little track on that. Again, this probably, I'm going about 20 miles per hour on this, and that might be a little bit, I feel like that's a fairly decent speed. So we show that one batch there getting to Cownville about 12:40. Current time is what, right about, that's about 10 minutes or so as we get closer to there. So getting closer again to, let me pause it on the, I do wish that this would stay on kind of like the storm track wouldn't update as it's going there, but there might be a way for me to tweak that. Again, still learning the software there. Alpine about 12:54, getting close to Jericho by about 1:01. Gueville about 1:15. I'm going to extend this out a little farther, which should allow us to be able to take it, say, all the way to, say, Boonville, for example. Nope, I can do that. There we go, 30 miles. There we go, that'll Boonville on there. So Boonville will show about 143. Again, there could be storms pop up in advance of this. I just figure we might as well track some of these while we're on here, and then we'll kind of shut things down as far as the feed is concerned. These spotty storms, there's a little more convergence down here. That's part of what has kind of helped some of these storms to pop up where they have. There's just enough heating, a little bit of convergence, and so these spotty storms, again, they're not large, but a few of them are popping up out toward Hamilton, Alabama, out toward Amory. Camera there in the Amory area. We'll pop that up for a moment as we look out of that one. We'll start Smithville, and then we'll go Amory. Smithville, again, showing some of those darker clouds as we look back toward the west and southwest. Amory, a similar shot, 89 degrees temperature there, 88 degrees in Amory at this instant. Feels like 100. So I think some folks looking forward to some of that rainfall. That's pretty heavy looking rain. We'll look at some rainfall. In particular, I'd say the rainfall Rates, always kind of a good thing to check out in this instant here. I'll have to probably pull that off to pull on rainfall rates. Yeah, I mean, getting some pretty good rainfall rates. We're looking into that one kind of from the south there into the Amory area. That's clearly not one of our heavier rainfall rates, actually, at this time, showing that, what, about an inch an hour or so. So again, that's not extreme, honestly. That's not nearly as heavy as it looked, honestly, from the camera. So perhaps the rainfall rate will increase a minute here as the bottom's really falling out. A couple showers out there toward Fayette, Alabama, just outside the area. We'll show a few reform back toward a reform around Crawford and Brooksville. I'll go ahead and put this back in the looping mode here for you for a moment. Again, just starting to pop up. So we'll have a lot more over the next few hours here, and most will be significantly more intense than what we're looking at this time. A few back toward Winona. We'll check out that Winona camera, see if we got a shot of that, and double check the angle this is looking for a moment. Again, appreciate the good folks at North Mississippi Storm Chasers for allowing us to utilize their cameras. It's a partnership that we have had with the Storm Chasers for years, and hopefully we'll continue to have for years to come. And we just appreciate, all their extremely hard work that they put in. Why does it say quick storm update as of 4:32? Yeah, I think some of these, when it sends out the alerts on the text, they're coming out a little wrong. I'll have to figure out whether or not we just customize the alerts on YouTube, stuff like that, or if we just leave it all, just say Mississippi Live Weather, because that's kind of irritating how some of those have been a little bit quirky from time to time. Okay, so Winona here. Give me a moment. So we're looking kind of south at this point. I'll kind of pan this back out a little bit more to the east, a little bit more to the west and kind of northwest as we look into some of these clouds. Again, a lot of puffy cumulus clouds out there. You can tell how unstable the atmosphere is when they kind of grow up there and then sort of stall. We're not as unstable clearly as on a more major day. I do like the partly cloudy skies. I think that has helped us to kind of hold the temperatures and make them not quite as hot and steamy at this point. But yeah, we would call this a cumulus field from time to time. Yeah, that might be a better way to put it. Yeah, and see that one there is getting a little bit heavier. Again, no severe weather with what we're looking at here. But you see up there top, I'm gonna see if we can zoom it in. Again, we're learning what is possible. So give me a moment to kind of pan this up just a little bit. I wanna zoom in on kind of the more cauliflower sort of look on this. Give me a second to do that. Okay. And pan that up. Will it go up anymore? Nope, I might be as high as I can go. Okay, so do you see how it looks? It's just kind of like bursting that direction. That's how we can tell, how more unstable the air is. When it starts to get real kind of fuzzy, and I'll find one of those here in a second, we know the air is less stable. But this is also kind of coming out at a side. When it's really unstable, like on kind of a big sort of strong storm day, it's gonna burst right up in a big way. And so kind of at an angle there, sometimes the shear will affect that, but pretty cool shot there. I'm really excited to be able to show you some cameras from time to time and be able to talk through some things that we haven't had access to be able to do in the past. But yeah, I'm very excited about that potential here. A lot of things, there's a lot of initial startup sort of things that scare me related to what we're doing, but that makes me extremely excited to be able to think about doing that kind of stuff. Let me see if I can find a glaciated one, which is one. There we go. No, that's still decent. Ah, here we go. Let's go back. Promise I'll try not to make you sick while doing it either. I'm moving a little faster now. But if we zoom in on this one kind of in the middle here, right? See how it's just kind of fuzzy, sort of fuzzy at the end there? Well, sometimes it's not a perfect example, but it doesn't have a sharp, crisp look. That's a less stable, cloud trying to rise up and produce a shower. So we call that being glaciated. Sometimes it's warm air aloft. There are other things that, impact whether or not it's able to continue the development there. But anyway, bunch of cool shots we're able to show you out of that camera there. I'm gonna see if I can, the presets are set, they are not on that, so I'll just widen this back out as we look kind of in a northerly sort of direction out of Winona. So we'll clear that off and we'll bring that back. So, that was looking in Winona there. It does look apparently east. Okay, well, let's look east. Let's take a second here. Let's look east. We'll go back to that camera for a moment. We're just kind of talking through some things, just kind of showing you things. And then there's no severe weather. Let me step here real quick and say, if there's no severe weather out there, I don't know that we're going to see severe weather today. I just got time and I'm talking for the moment. So if you enjoyed that, great. If not, no harm, no foul. You go back on with your day and we'll be in pretty good shape. Let's look at this, back toward the east, northeast east there. There we are. Okay, so you're looking kind of in the distance a little ways at that shower there. That's the top of the shower, it's the bottom, and that's the rainfall. So I'm going to pull this. Yeah, you can see it in the corner here. Hold on. So I'm going to try something that I never built this graphic to do this, but I'll see if I can do this, where I can have both these things on at the same time. So this was not the point of this graphic. Maybe it should be. I need to think hard about how I want to do this. I should have a graphic where that is big so I can have both on there at the same time. We'll play with it. Okay, so let's see if I can make it to where I put that in that corner. And we're still zoomed in a little close. Okay, but that's good enough. So we're looking from that camera kind of back toward the east there along 82, I think that is. Now my brain's, yeah, it's 82. It's been a week, right? Let me double check. Yes, 82. Okay, we got it. So there is that storm. And when we're looking at radar right there, we're looking at the rainfall at the bottom. So that's what that is there. So there's a lot more storm above that. And so as that's still building, once that eventually starts the collapsing phase and that collapses, that's when we'll actually see more of the reds show up. So a lot of times a building storm, when we're looking at it on radar, just kind of looks unimpressive, but it might look really impressive to you. And that's why storm chasers and storm spotters are so important, is because they allow us to be able to, know before it hits radar, because radar is always at least a couple moments old, what's going on there. So I think it's kind of a cool shot to be able to kind of talk about that on a day that, it's not that big a deal out there. So anyway, that's that. Go and pull that back down. So that's that storm near Kilmichael. They're popping up. And again, most of these are well below severe limits and likely to stay that way into the afternoon. Let's look quickly at, because I've talked about everything else, we might as well talk about where Futurecast is kind of placing some of the activity over the next few hours. I'm going to force it to go to this mode here. Give me a second. And so it does show we're, I think, overperforming the rainfall potential just a little bit here so far. So that you can see in the next half hour or so, more of those thunderstorms kind of popping up as we go into the next few hours, a lot more out there. So I do think 4:30, this is underdoing our coverage of rainfall a little bit. And that's to be expected kind of with this overall pattern. A lot of times this underdoes the coverage of rainfall. But kind of peak time frame, I think still probably that 4, 5, 6 time period. And then we'll have some of those chances to do continue later into the evening, but in a more limited fashion. So we expect more thunderstorms, more heavy rainfall. Just keep the app handy and ready to go, and you'll be in good shape. Referencing the app here, by the way. Yeah, Mabin took a lightning hit yesterday. So yeah, I was wondering when that. I thought that Mabin had a camera. That was my discussion with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, as they were kind of, appreciate them. They also watch what we do as well. I'm going to turn on my brightness all the way as we talk about something. So one of the things on the app, and I'll see if I can kind of get it the right angle there. Some folks have been asking on the radar in particular. I'm trying to think if there's a better way I can show this. I don't know that there necessarily is. But on the alerts, making sure you get the right alerts. So if you hit the location at the top there, I have mine set. Come up to the camera and it's going to get blurry. I know it is because I have it set on the other. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, even though it's blurry, you can add a location using that if you want to that's monitored. That's really blurry, but you get the point. And so you can specifically choose from the map anywhere you want to. If say, for one reason or another, it's not grabbing the exact location you are, you can click that, click accept, and it'll monitor that location for you as well. I have mine set up to just kind of follow me wherever I am. But ultimately, yeah, I notice as soon as I open up my phone, all the text messages start coming in. Yeah, that's one kind of important thing there. We are still awaiting, it seems like still awaiting the Roku app. I have not checked this morning on that. Those are supposed to be available, but when you're dealing with these app stores, you're kind of at the mercy of the people that click approve. So hopefully soon on that. I thought we had timed it out where it'd be when we went live last week. That was the case. That hasn't been the case. So I'm sorry that we've that's taken a little longer. I do appreciate all of you for just blowing up the app. It has been, the response has been very fantastic. So thank you. Thank you for, of course, watching in Thrasher, in Alabama as well. Billy, appreciate that there. Just so many folks out there in Eupora. I'm going to go back here through some of your comments for just a moment as I can pull up from Facebook. I have a software that allows me to aggregate Facebook, YouTube, I believe Twitter as well, as far as comments are concerned there. You should do kids' weather lessons somewhat on a schedule. Okay, so let's talk about that. I do anticipate doing a lot more school visits, hopefully in the fall. My schedule as part of this is probably going to change to where I work more of a day-side shift, meaning my shift is probably going to end up being a lot of administrative sort of stuff and school visits during the day, and I'll work 5 and 6, and then Gabe will kind of go alongside me as 5, 6, and then that 9 and 10, whatever combination we end up doing there. And so because of that, that hopefully once we get some of the business end of this a little bit more straightened out, should free me up to do a few more school visits. And one thing I would like to do is I'd like to carry those school visits live here at least some of the time. So I think we have the opportunity for multiple programming streams. And so carrying those school visits live, something that could be useful if we can't visit all the schools in the area, especially, most people want us to do school visits when we get into spring, and that is clearly the time of year where I have the least time to be able to do school visits, unfortunately, because it's the busiest time for us. So possibly carrying one live that goes multiple places there, something that we can hopefully be able to schedule and do when the time comes. I don't know how necessarily we'll make it work all perfect to begin with here, but I know we'll figure that out over the course of the next months and years ahead. But I'd like to carry some of those school visits live if we could, as we go try to educate people around here. So yeah, Mandy, that is something that we're definitely on our roadmap. Now, making something on your roadmap happen can be tricky. Someone mentioned watching the Tuscaloosa storm there, and Vernon watching for y'all, and Grenada as well. Appreciate that. Alert like you did. Okay. So someone was, hold on, where's that at here? So someone was asking about apps. Now I can pull this up, but what I can't do, I don't think, is talk over this. Let me see if I can pull up here. I'm logged into my thing back at work. I wonder if I can hit this button here. Look at that. Magic. So you can download our free apps, as you see there. Yeah, my audio is still working. Man, one of these days, I'm learning a lot of new software here, and so some of the software I mostly understand, and some of the software I have absolutely no clue. That's not true. I have at least a clue on some of it. But you can see there on the bottom of your screen that we have ways to download. If you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, we appreciate that. Obviously, those numbers are something that some of the advertisers are looking at. We've gotten some very early numbers on how much you guys are using the app, and it is mind-blowing to the extent that while I talk to the person who provides those numbers, I'm going to have a more extensive conversation with them today to make sure I fully understand the numbers, because they just seem almost too good to be true. Thank you, God, on that. And that is completely you. This is for you. We're doing this for you, and hopefully the way in which you sample it is the way in which we will, of course, present it, as best as we can. But we just, we just appreciate all y'all and your support that you've given us. Hey, would somebody let the dog out, please? This is one of those hazards of the home studio related to that. Our dog is a great dog. When he wants outside, he'll bark. It's about the only time. Let's check out a couple more cameras here, and then we're going to shut this down, because again, as you know from watching us during our broadcast, I can talk forever, and that's not good for you and me. I think we all have stuff we need to do with our day. I certainly need to work through some of the advertiser stuff that people have asked about. The response has been overwhelming in the best way, and if we haven't talked to you and you've submitted saying you would like to advertise, we have not forgotten about you. It's just a very long list. And that is a blessing of the highest order. I mean, well, no, there are many blessings of higher order, but you get what I'm saying. It's an incredible blessing. And so thank you so much for your incredible support. So let's check out a couple of these cameras here for a moment. I'll check out Tupelo. Just kind of see what direction that one is facing there to kind of show some of those puffy clouds. Not a lot of vertical development, though. You can see the shower out there in the distance with that one as well. It's the one looking southeast is probably a little bit stronger, so we'll go and swing the camera that direction. Again, a large part of this is I'm just learning and practicing, you know, how we will handle this in severe weather. One thing that I just, you know, a ball that I've not had in the air to this point is managing some of these cameras. And the North Mississippi Storm Chasers do help out with that and do a good job with that. But just kind of learning, you know, what is possible and how it all works on there. There's that, as we're looking kind of southeast, that is that storm that we were looking at kind of from the bottom. I'll step to this side here for a moment. And you can see that's what we're looking at down there, closer to, say, Nettleton. One of those storms, that's the heavier rainfall with this. And notice how, yeah, see how crisp that is right there? How that's just more visually interesting, that portion as well. Let's point the camera right toward that for a second. And for my Storm Chaser friends, I have a group text coming up here, but I'm also going to pop up the Storm Chaser chat in case you have anything in here. Again, we're not going to just go straight wall to wall, as we would call it, in the severe weather world for just everything. But just kind of looking through some stuff here, so if they have anything to add. But yeah, look in the background there. You have this fuzzy cloud there in the foreground, but then you have that real sharp, the contrast is really good on that. Let me get the exact angle. I'm looking southeast about 120 degrees. That's like straight southeast. So that would be, okay, so I'm wrong actually. That is, I can't get out of the way. I need to build it in on the other side apparently. That is that one you see down there. Maybe I need to put that over top of the Storm Chasers logo down here. We'll figure it out. We've got time, right? Got nothing but time. Okay, with that in mind, thank you so much for watching. And you couldn't see any of that anyway because I still have up the information on how to download the app. So appreciate that. Appreciate you and the many thoughts and prayers that you've given us. More storms developing as we go in the afternoon. Already some rainfall totals. Let's kind of check and see some early estimations here in the last 3 hours. Again, not much out there because it's just now starting to get going. So no shock on that. I'm going to check one other thing. And then we will shut this down, I promise. I am capable of shutting this down, regardless of whether or not it seems like it to myself. Okay, there we are. There's the more limited rainfall accumulation. I don't know why the 1 hour doesn't have a title at the top, but we'll add that there. Again, put that on the list. Give me a moment. 1 hour rain total. Okay. So I wonder how much some of that is there, just out of curiosity. So we show New Albany, about ½ an inch or so out of this already. So nothing too terribly extreme there, close to Ripley. But it's come down at a pretty good rate in some of the rainfall rates on those. That's what I was expecting to see earlier. So I think we were still waiting for that as it was developing. Let's go back a few scans here. Yeah, so we caught it back here before it really started dumping rain. Yeah, that rainfall rate has been up, you know, close to, I see 5 inches an hour there for a second. Yeah, 4 or 5 inches an hour. So coming down by the bucket load. Keep it here with the Mississippi Live Weather app for both, I think there's iOS on this side and Android over there. We appreciate all those downloads, all those streams, and we'll bring you updates as necessary. Checking that severe weather chat with the Storm Chasers just one more time. I see that somebody's about to post something in there. Nope. I think they're still kind of looking at what they're doing. So we'll go ahead and shut this down. We will see you come up tonight at the least at 5 o'clock for Mississippi Live Weather at 5. Maybe a little bit of an update earlier than that if necessary. Just thank you for all of your support. Really, really appreciate it. As I find which of these 7,000 monitors I'm on here to get back to the right one. There we go. I think I've got the right one here for a moment. Pull that down. And we will see you guys coming up.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy